Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tottering gait. Her chest was filled almost to bursting point with a mixture of exhaustion and uncertainty that she couldn't easily describe. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in an old, worn-out crossword puzzle magazine. He looked up for an instant to see whether one of the family had come, but when he realized that it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened.
Genji 様より、郷田さんのお手伝いにつくように言われてまいりました。
ああ、そうですか。それは助かります。そろそろ戸締まりの見回りに行きたかったのですが、ここを開けてもいいものか困っていたのです。何しろ旦那様方の会合はまだだいぶ続きそうですからね。いつ何時お茶のご用命があるかも分かりませんし。
そうですよね。ではどうしましょうか。私が留守番を。
ではシャノンさん、申し訳ありませんが、お屋敷内の見回りをお願いします。私はここで親族の皆さんのご用命の待機をしておりますので。
はい。
Shannon felt a twinge of annoyance. Despite the fact that she had come here to help out as a favor, she was being forced to do the job of the person actually on duty as though it were natural. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goda had once again gone back to his magazine and had become immersed in his crossword puzzle. ASAP. For the time being, as a sign of respect for her elder, Shannon bowed her head, and she left the room to make the rounds. Getting a little angry had enabled her to bring the airy sensation she had been feeling until now under control a bit. Besides, she couldn't show this kind of face to Genji and Cannon. Until her heart was able to calm down, she wanted a little time to herself, and maybe going around the mansion wasn't such a bad way to do that. From the dining hall, she began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family's discussion. Someone would speak at great length, and would then be opposed by someone else. That rebuttal would continue in a very long, drawn-out fashion, until opposed by yet another person. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if she was discovered by Kloss. Thinking that, Shannon quick-footedly slipped by the entrance to the dining hall. Then, inside the mansion, controlled by darkness, she began to check that the house was all closed up, following a prearranged route. She walked down the hall, checking that each window was closed. On Rokenjima, there were no humans other than the family, so in actuality, closing up wasn't that terribly meaningful of a task. Until Natsuhi had scolded them that this attitude was careless, closing up had not been customary in the Ushiyamiya family. The metal fixtures on the completely chilled windows were freezing, and every time she went to check on them, one by one, it felt like the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. beckoning. Just then, she thought she saw something flickering across the hall. Flickering? Something like that shouldn't be visible beyond the darkness of the hall. Although she thought it was probably her eyes playing tricks on her, she killed her breathing for a brief moment. And, grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed into the center of the hall. However, other than the occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. It must have been her imagination after all. Maybe because she couldn't calm down her heart, she saw something that didn't even exist. Shannon resumed checking the windows. However, in the back of her mind, a certain unnerving possibility had been resurrected. It was that which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ushiyamiya family. I'm going to repeat that line, I'm sorry. It was that which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ushiyamiya main family, that ghost story, in which the mansion had different masters of the day and the night, in which the master of the night, Beatrice, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. Come to think of it, hadn't Kanekun said that he had once seen it for himself? He got sulky when I didn't believe him, and told him he was just seeing things. Could it possibly? Really? The roar of the thunder gave no answer. I don't know what's going on. Are we doing a cutscene or a transition? Are we going to Natsuhi? No, I don't think we're going to Natsuhi. I don't trust you. Butterfly. There's Rudolph, Klaus, Rosa and Kyrie, Hideyoshi Eva, Shannon, Goda, Cannon, Genji, Kumasawa. What are you doing? Wait, what was he doing? What was his name again? Shoot, what was his name again? Fuck, I forgot his name. Kinzo! No, wait, Kinzo's grandpa. Fuck, what was his name? Ah! Damn it. I forgot the doctor's name. Okay. Oh, that was the end of the cutscene. Fuck, what was the family physician's... Nanjo! What was Nanjo doing? Was he sleeping, or was he somewhere in the dark plotting something? Oh. The second day, October 5th, 1986. The sacrifice is chosen by the key. Hold on. Oh no! Wait. No way, are 6 people gonna die? On the First Twilight? kill those who are chosen by the key. Like, that's basically that's on the epitaph. That's on the epitaph. Did 6 people just die? On the first Twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key. Did 6 people just get killed? Was that sequence just shown off that 6 people just got fucking killed? No way, wait. We're gonna have to guess which of the 6 got killed. Oh shit, this does not look good for Shannon. No! No! No, wait! Okay, this is a Rikishi work, so I shouldn't be fucking surprised. But still, no, she died, she's gonna die too early in this episode, if that's the case. No! Genji once again tightened his bow tie, and looked outside through a crack in the curtains. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night. But it didn't look like the thick rain clouds were planning to let any trace of the morning sun get by. The morning was dim, and far from refreshing.
やはり今日いっぱいはやみそうにないか。
お待たせしました、源氏様。
Cannon finished checking his appearance, and exited the washroom. In a normal schedule, it was rare for anyone to have to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to a morning shift. It was a special system for just the 2 days of the family conference. But then, as long as the typhoon didn't leave today, the relative stay on this island would last until tomorrow. Cannon thought that it was best to be prepared for the special schedule to be extended one more day. The two of them left the guest house, opening their umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain last night. Even though they had spent several days making it look beautiful to welcome the guests, it had only been I'm gonna reread this entire line, I fucked it up. 6 people are gonna be dead! Well, at least Cannon and Genji are okay. Cannon and Genji, I'm actually fine with them, so at least they're okay. For now. Even though they had spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, it had only taken one stormy night to ruin it. Ken sighed. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Goda and prepare breakfast. Goda was such a perfectionist that he would undoubtedly have been up for some time already, and now be in the middle of preparing a breakfast both exquisite and as elegant as glasswork. They reached the overhang by the entrance to the mansion, and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took from his pocket a bundle of several keys, and used it to unlock the front door. There was nothing on Rokinjima outside the Ushiyamiya family mansion, so there never used to be a custom of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered that be part of their duties to lock up the mansion from around midnight to early morning. And unlocking in the early morning was to be done by the servants who had the morning shift. Since Goda would begin the preparations for breakfast as soon as he woke up, this task was to be undertaken by Genji and Cannon. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was still asleep.
では、朝の仕事を始めよう。
はい。
The two of them split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. If the curtains remained closed, the inside of the mansion would be unable to shake off its glue, as if it hadn't yet managed to escape the previous night. Cannon following a well-versed procedure, went around the mansion, opening one window after another without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, by opening the curtains, it began to feel just a little bit like morning. While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he hadn't yet smelled anything, his empty stomach started aching in anticipation of the scent of Goda's much bragged about cooking.
おはようございます。
He tried to read Goda, who he had thought would be preparing the meal inside the kitchen, but Goda was nowhere to be seen. The kitchen was darkly lit, and never mind the curtains, the ventilation fan wasn't even spinning. It was still cold in the room, without a hint of a flame, and of course, no preparations for breakfast were taking place. Although it must not be allowed to happen, maybe Goda had overslept. Servants are humans too. They can sometimes fail to wake up or something, and be late as a result. In the rare case of that happening, it was the virtue of a servant to casually smooth the situation over so as not to cause an unsightly scene. And to make sure that their masters never even noticed that such a mistake happened in the first place. Cannon took up the receiver of the phone fitted to the wall, and dialed the extension number for the room where the servant slept. He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. Cannon tried picking up the receiver again, but even so, he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. Could it be that the lightning last night had caused a mechanical fault and broken the internal telephone lines? The equipment in this mansion was all worn out. Cannon fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. Cannon gave up trying to wake him with the phone, and dashed off to the room where the servant slept. We cut off right before he could. Ken's about to discover a body. There's no doubts about it. Ken's gonna discover a fucking body. I'm really hoping it's not Shannon's, but it might be Shannon's body that he discovers. Fuck. Oh, it could be Goda. Goda was last seen in the servant's room, so Goda might be killed in the servant's room. If Goda's killed, he might be alive still. How long had she slept until? How long had it been since she had awoken and started lazily staring up at the ceiling? That vague sense of awakening was Natsuhi's usual morning experience. Her sleep was always light, and she wouldn't even have been able to sleep at all without medicine. To Natsuhi, sleeping was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought that it was still last night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guest. Urging herself on, she raised up her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. While she was inside this room, no one would torment her. Her headache wouldn't get any worse than it already was. This room was her only peaceful space. So when she left, it meant returning to the world of her husband's siblings probing each other's minds. then wouldn't it be better to just stay locked up in this room forever? Natsuhi smiled bitterly at this fantasy. She was starting to sound like Kinzo. Even though, most of the time, she would call Kinzo's names for staying locked up in his own room and taking no notice of anyone, the truth was that she actually longed to do so herself. Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and her fantasy was replaced by the reawakening of her usual headache. Moonlit night. Aww. Okay, I was thinking something intense was about to happen because we were seeing a doorknob. Come on. Whenever you see a doorknob, like an up close of a doorknob in a game or a show, you know something's gonna happen. Cause doorknobs never lead to good news. And how's my camera dying already? I forgot to charge the battery of this. When she reached for the doorknob, trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that she had hung from it before going to sleep the previous night. It was Maria's charm that Jessica had given to Natsuhi. If she remembered correctly, Jessica had said something about it having the power to repel magic, and that she should hang it from her doorknob? Maybe it was thanks to the charm that at least this room had been protected from her husband's siblings' malice. As she thought this, her mood began to get a little more cheerful.
ジェシカのおかげで少しはゆっくり眠れたということかしら。
Aww. Okay, this part of the chapter is getting a little bit nice, though. The calm before the storm. I know the storm's about to hit me hard. I'm prepared for the fucking storm. But, it's really causing my anxiety to come out. Then, Natsuhi remembered. That's right. Last night, I promised Jessica that I would give her a charm of my own in exchange for this one, didn't I? Natsuhi opened a drawer of her dresser and took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured ever since she was a child. Inside, there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. From amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small, round mirror about 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate, and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it looked much more effective when compared to the other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion key holder. She had heard that this mirror was a spiritual mirror to ward off evil spirits, and she had been given it especially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. It has been believed since ancient times that strange powers dwell within mirrors. Most likely, the way they reflect light created a belief that they also deflect misfortune and malice in the same way. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. Come on, Kyubei. Kyubei. I'm trying to move my cord. Stop. Really, stop. Okay, there we go. There we go. Evil bastard. Just as she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed throughout the room.
はい。
おはようございます、奥様。源氏でございます。早朝から 申し訳ございません。
今行きます。何事ですか？
No servant had ever come to her this early in the morning, and especially not directly. Maybe something bad had happened. For example, maybe some fatal oversight had been made during the preparations for breakfast, and the household would be put to shame in front of the guest, or something. Natsuhi breathed out slowly, as if getting a head start on the trouble she was surely about to be told of. When she opened the door, Genji once again said a morning greeting to her while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded.
おはようございます。何かありましたか？
申し訳ございません。昨夜の落雷で電話機器に故障が出たようです。内線電話が不通になっておりますもので、直接のお伺いになってしまったことをお許しください。
内線電話が普通？それは面倒になりましたね。修理は可能ですか？
残念ながら故障箇所が分かりません。後で業者を呼んで修理させたいと思います。
ということは、この台風が過ぎるまでは修理不能ということですか？つまり客人たちの滞在中はずっと普通ということですね。客人たちのお世話に支障は？
出ないよう最善を尽くします。
結構です。粗相のないようよろしく頼みます。
Natsuhi let out a small sigh of relief. She had been prepared for the worst. But a telephone breakdown wasn't the kind of trouble she was worried about. But then, even this would probably be enough to spark sarcasm from Eva. Natsuhi gave her head a light shake.
朝食の準備は順調ですか？
それが合田の姿が見えません。朝食の支度もまだ行われておらず。
何ですって？
Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phone's not working. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. Why did everything go well most of the time, and then come to something like this when the relatives were visiting? Natsuhi placed a hand to her forehead and shook her head sharply.
大方朝寝坊でもしているのでしょう。とにかく誰でもいいから急いで朝食の準備を。
Natsuhi had exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. The unpleasant thing that she saw there silenced her completely. What? It was an unsettling sight, as if someone had dipped their fingers in a dark red liquid and clawed at the area around the doorknob. As though someone had soaked both of their hands in blood and groped at the door and the knob. Like someone had wanted to stage something like that and left this mark as an awful prank.
これは何のいたずらですか？悪趣味な。
私も 今ここにお伺いして初めて気づきました。
Genji, you have a weird way of setting your priorities.
後ほど清掃いたします。
大方趣味の悪い客人の冗談でしょう。不愉快です。実に不愉快です。
Who in the world would pull such a childless and disgusting prank? Natsuhi had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof. So, even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. On the contrary, it would definitely be better for her to say she hadn't even noticed that such a prank had been played in the first place. Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned, and headed off to the parlor with clacking heels. When Natsuhi and Genji arrived in the parlor, Ava and Hideyoshi were already there.
おはようございます、皆さん。
おはよう、夏日さん。朝食も合田さんが作るっちゅう話やないか。朝から胃袋が大喜びで騒ぎっぱなしなんや。
本家の楽しみは食事くらいがせいぜいですものね。
エヴァさんも朝からご機嫌がよろしいようで何よりです。
Natsuhi returned Ava's gaze, which was fiercely competitive, even though it was early in the morning, with a weary expression. Then Kennen jogged in. After bowing an apology to the relatives for running inside the mansion, he approached Genji and told him something in a small voice.
カノン、ゴーダはまだ見つからないのですか？
申し訳ございません、奥様。お屋敷内もゲストハウスも回ったのですが、まだ。
一体どこへ行ったというのです？とりあえず今はゴーダより朝食の準備が先決です。至急対応しなさい。
はい。
Kennen glanced at Genji. It looked like he had something else to report, but needed to ask Genji whether he was the right person to say it. Genji nodded, and decided to give the report himself.
奥様、
Beckoning.
ゴーダだけではありません。旦那様の姿もありません。
主人が？
はい。奥様より先に旦那様に朝食の準備がないことをご報告しようと思い、寝室をお伺いしたのですが、お姿がありませんでした。それから旦那様だけではありません。ルドルフ様ご夫妻とローザ様のお姿もありません。
Oh shit. Oh shit. So Goda, Cross, Rudolph, Kyrie, Rosa, and maybe Shannon. No, wait! No! Don't put Shannon to the set! Oh, no! No! Shannon! Oh, no. I'm betting one of them is probably gonna be Shannon, damn it. I'm taking a bet that's probably gonna be the 6 that are gonna be killed in the first Twilight, if that's gonna happen.
ゲストハウスにも？屋敷にもですか？
はい。ゲストハウスの部屋にもおられません。
When she had heard that Goda alone was missing, she had thought that he might have slept in, or was loafing around somewhere. But when she heard that several of the relatives were also missing, she began to start thinking a little more optimistically. last night's family conference might have continued all night, and in fact might still be going on. It would then be imaginable that they had wanted to cool off their heads after being in that stuffy room, and had all gone off on a group walk through the rain. Had all gone off on a group walk through the rain? What the fuck? What? That part about cooling off their heads really sounded like something Klaus would like to say. Probably Goda had been called to go with them to aid them with something. Goda was not a man who lost track of time. He had to have understood that, if he did not return, the preparations for breakfast would be hindered. So perhaps, as much as he'd like to leave, the atmosphere would not permit him to, and the conference was continuing in that manner, even this very moment. Yes, Natsuhi thought this to be an extremely persuasive theory. Wait a second, hold up, wait. That is actually the truth, then why is Ava and Hideyoshi there with you, Natsuhi? Natsuhi remembered the illusion that she had felt that morning of being sucked into a continuation of the previous night. And upon learning that the feeling wasn't just an illusion, she once again let out a deep, wary breath. Because the banquet of the filthy vulture circling around Kinzo's property was still continuing.
大方、庭園のどこか、あるいは海岸の方で相も変わらず遺産の話を繰り返しているのでしょう。とにかくゴーダを呼び戻さなくてはいつまでも朝食の準備が整いません。
ってことはなんや、兄さんたちの話し合いはまだ続いとるんか。
She had thought she'd spoken in a small voice, but Hideyoshi had overheard her, and managed to grasp the situation.
兄さんもルドルフもタフね。ローザの場合は若さかしら。私たち夕べの24時過ぎにはもう眠くてベッドに戻らせてもらったんだけど、確かにあの時点でもまだ兄さんたちは熱論を交わしてたわ。男って熱くなると嫌ね。
Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank.
カノン、表を探してらっしゃい。ゴーダを見つけたらすぐに戻って朝食の準備をするよう伝えなさい。
かしこまりました。
夏日姉さん、表とは限らないわよ。お父様の書斎ってことはないかしら。
なるほど、考えられん話やないで。どういう話の流れかはわからんが、お父さんの主催に場所を移してお父さんにも混じってもらって議論を続けてるっちゅう可能性は十分あるやろ。
I don't see the probability of that being that high, though.
そのような汚らわしい話題を好んでお父様が書斎へ招き入れることなど考えられません。
あらそう。じゃあ仕方ないわね。源氏さんとカノン君は申し訳ないけど外を探してきてちょうだい。確かに兄さんなら頭を冷やすために外を散歩しようなんて言い出しても不思議はないわ。たとえこんな天気でもね。私はお父様の書斎に行ってくるわ。ひょっとするとそこにいるかもしれないしね。
客人であるエヴァさんにそこまでのご足労はおかけできません。私が行ってきます。朝のご挨拶も兼ねて。
あら、じゃあお願いするわね。でも朝の挨拶を交わしてくれるかは疑わしいわね。 夏日姉さんってお父様とは仲よろしかったかしら？
仲が良いかは分かりかねますが、後宮家の跡継ぎの妻を許されるだけの信頼を得ていると確信しています。
ならきっと返事くらいはしてくれるわね。お父様とは朝食くらいご一緒したいの。ぜひ降りてきてくださるよう説得してくれないかしら？私たちはすっかり嫌われちゃってるみたいだけど、そこまで信頼を得ている夏日姉さんの言うことなら聞いてくれそうですもの。
Yeah, I can definitely hear the, Takano in Ava's voice.
そこまで短歌を切ってお父様を説得できず、一人で降りてきちゃったりしたら、信頼を得ているなんて二度と言えないかもね。
自信はありませんが、努力はします。
Natsuhi responded, discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Ava herself was treating it like a joke, expecting that it couldn't be done. But even so, Natsuhi would lose face if she gave up, said it was impossible for her, and let Ava go instead. Ava's mean-spirited and unreasonable demand caused Natsuhi's tightly clenched fist to shake. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke to her over her shoulder.
奥様、よろしければこれをお持ちください。
それは？
Genji handed Natsuhi a sparkling gold key of ornate design. It was the key to Kinzo's study. The study would always lock itself, and it couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry a key to that door.
でもこの鍵を使ったら、あなたも咎めを受けるのではありませんか？
親方様はそれに親方様にお部屋を出ていただくよう説得するには親越しでは難しゅうございましょう。
Oh my god, shit. Oh, I messed up. Okay, I'm gonna have to give my first slap to myself in Umineko. Oh, I know, this is my second one. That wasn't good. Come on, I could do something harder than that. Alright, that was kind of hard. I want a good smack. Oh, come on! I'm not doing good today. You know what? My hand's getting red already. It's fine. When the master is sleeping deeply, simple knocking on the door may not reach his ears. And when persuading the master to leave his room, it would be more difficult if you must talk through the door.
ぜひお使いください。
Genji.
Until now, Natsuhi had thought of Genji as a cold servant who worked directly under Kinzo and would never work for her. But it looks like she would have to alter her understanding of him. She wanted to communicate her feeling of thanks, but by then, Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Cannon. But as Natsuhi watched them go, the words that reached her from behind were sneering.
じゃあお父様を必ず連れてきてね。息子のかわいい嫁の言うことですもの。きっと聞いてくれるわよ。 私たちは客人だからここでのんびりくつろがせてもらうわ。
予算買えば口が過ぎるで。すまんが夏日姉さん、お父さんのことをよろしく頼むわ。
Natsuhi left without replying, at a swift pace, her heels clacking loudly with every step. And now, we are back to the kids. I slightly forgot, there were, big characters in the story. I kind of forgot about the kids. How can I forget about the kids? How? How did I do that? I swear, if one of the kids is missing. After all that excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up soon. George and Iki, Jessica, and I were snoring loudly on the bed in the cousin's room. But Maria, who didn't join in, and who had gone straight to bed the previous night, suddenly and completely opened her eyes. As she rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked around, the loud snoring coming from the three cousins continued. For a while, Maria had to think about what had happened. After that, she realized that her mother was not with her, and quickly got lonely. Maria left the cousin's room, trying to head to the room that had been arranged for her and her mother. Paying no heed to the three who were sleeping soundly, she made a loud, slamming sound on the way out. In response, Parlor mumbled and rolled over in his sleep, but it wasn't enough to wake him up. After a while, Mia returned, once again opening the door with a lively bang. When she had left the room, her face had been sleepy, but after returning, she now looked discontent. After that, she climbed up on Battler's bed, which happened to be the closest, and started yelling and jumping on it like it was a trampoline. Bounce! After making sure that I was awake, Maria jumped over onto George and Iki's bed and started bouncing on that too. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening. I totally have done this to my parents before when I was younger. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening.
ありがとうマリアちゃん、起こしてくれたんだね。僕たちは夕べが遅かったから寝坊しちゃったのを起こしてくれたんだね。でももう少しだけ起こし方を優しくしてくれると完璧だったかな。
ジョージ兄さんは本当に大人だよ。尊敬するぜ。
もうすぐ7時なんだな。まあ確かにもう起きてもいい頃だぜ。
Oh no. Oh fuck, this is gonna be really... Rosa is most definitely not... Okay, I'm making the prediction now. Rosa is most definitely not gonna be alive, so... this is not gonna be a fun game for Maria.
ローザおばさんが部屋にいなかったの？もう起きてお屋敷の方に行っちゃったのかな。
I know already that Rosa's not going to be alive when they find her. Maria kept groaning, ooh, ooh, and looking unhappy. It seemed like she wasn't simply lonely because she couldn't find her mother, but actually unhappy because her mother wasn't in the place she thought she was. And this made her feel like she'd been tricked. If we could have just told her where her mother was, that might have been enough to satisfy her. But unfortunately, as long as we were here, we had no way of finding that out.
どうせ朝食に行くことになるんだし、屋敷の方に行こうぜ。
そうだな。マリア、一緒に屋敷へ行こうぜ。きっとローザおばさんもそこさ。
ママはお屋敷なら行く。おう。
そうだね。お屋敷に行こうか。多分親たちはもう向こうに行ってるんだよ。
Maria regained her usual composure, as though her earlier temper had never happened. We got dressed, left the room, and headed for the mansion. And now they're gonna say they're not there. The door to the study was once again knocked upon, but there was no answer. He was still sleeping, and she couldn't wake him. If she returned downstairs saying something like that, Ava would be very amused and triumphant. And even aside from the whole Ava issue, there was the problem that yesterday, during this once-in-a-year family conference, he had stayed locked up all day, and had still not come out to greet the guest. Even though he was the head, no, especially because he was the head, he couldn't fail to make an appearance. Could she convince him? Natsuhi readied herself, and, using the key that she had borrowed from Genji, opened the door. Oh, wait, what if Kinzo's dead? She's going to discover Kinzo's body. I'm calling it now. Kinzo's not going to be alive when she sees him. A sweet stench that seemed to eat into her brain poured from the narrow opening she had created. And though she was prepared for it, she couldn't help but grimace. Thinking that he might still be sleeping, Natsuhi entered the room quietly. Oh, Thunberg Lily. When she did, Kinzo, already awake, was looking down out the window.
お目覚めでしたか。おはようございます。
どうやって入ったのか。
Kinzo spoke, with his back still facing her. His voice was not harsh, but calm, and Natsuhi was slightly reassured. However, he was at least in a bad enough mood that he had ignored the sound of all that knocking, even though he had been awake. Natsuhi wasn't able to break the tension.
申し訳ございませんでした。源氏さんにお願いして書斎の鍵をお借りさせていただきました。
ほう、源氏がか。我が友がそれに足ると思ったならば話を聞かぬわけにもいくまい。して私に何用か。
はい。もうじき朝 朝食の準備が整いますが、ぜひお父様にもおいでいただきたく思いまして。
朝食はここでとる。いつものように運ばせるがいい。
しかしお父様、年に一度の親族会議です。せめてお顔をお見せになってください。
下に降りて、私の死後遺産をどのように食いちぎるのかを決める議論に加われというのか。バカらしい。そのような話は私を抜きで好きに進めるがいい。そしてそれが親族会議だというなら、私がこの部屋を出るほどの価値はない。私は忙しいのだ。構うでない。
With his last words came the threat that any further questions would be useless. Natsuhi realized that adding any further pleas would finally bring his wrath down upon her. It would be annoying to hear Ava sarcastically say that she hadn't been able to convince him after all, but there was nothing more Natsuhi could do.
そうですか。わかりました。みんな残念がるでしょうが、そう伝えます。
Natsuhi decided to give up. Bowing silently, she made to leave the room before Kinzo's spasmodic temper could fire up. As she did, Kinzo called out to her. Compared to the usual Kinzo, this voice was calm and gentle, like it came from another person.
Natsuhi.
What shadow?
後ろ宮の家に嫁ぎ、もう随分になるな。
はい。後宮を名乗ることを許されてから、もう随分になります。
前の家が恋しくなることもあるか。
いいえ、嫁ぐとは成果を捨てることです。私は後宮夏日、帰る家も懐かしむ家も全てはこの後宮の家のみです。
It was definitely not an exaggeration. Such was the level of Natsuhi's resolve in calling herself an Ushiyamiya. That was why she was so sorrowful that, despite all of her efforts, it had been fruitless, and she was not even accepted by her husband.
クラウスが女で、お前がその夫であったなら。いや、それは言うまい。
No fucking way! No fucking way. Was he about to say what I think he was? No fucking way. No. No, wait. Does he actually think Natsuhi? Holy crap. Okay, I was not expecting this from Kinzo. But I'm gonna say congratulations to Natsuhi for maybe winning the favor of Kinzo's heart. But holy crap. There's no... Whoa. I'd say congratulations to her, though. But at the same time, wow. There's no way Kinzo is going to say what I think he is.
それはどういう意味ですか、お父様。
Natsuhi was shocked. If Kinzo's words just now had been meant literally, they would have been more than enough to make up for all she had suffered up to that point.
忘れよ。年寄りのざれ言だ。
Holy crap. Kinzo once again faced away from her. He had told her to forget it, but Natsuhi couldn't help feeling a warmth in her heart.
お父様、この夏日は血はつながらずともお父様の娘です。後宮家の名誉も栄光も、そしてお父様が残されたものも全てこの夏日が必ずや守ってみせますから。
お前に片翼のわしをまとう資格はない。しかしお前の心には確かに片翼のわしが刻まれている。
I don't know why I'm getting a little bit teared up right now. Wow, I came from actually disliking Natsuhi to kind of, feeling bad for her, to kind of liking her now. I don't know why. I'm actually slightly happy for Natsuhi for winning the favor of Kinzo right now.
ならばお前は間違いなく我が血族で後宮家の栄光を引き継ぐものだ。お前の衣服にわしがないことを嘲笑う者もいよう。
Is this really Kinzo?
しかしそれに耳を貸すことはない。心にわしを持つ者だけが真の私の血族なの。
Oh my god, I'm actually tearing up right now. I'm actually tearing up.
お前を後宮家に迎えられたことを今は光栄に思っている。
Like, I don't know if it's an honor to be accepted as a part of the most fucked up family. But at the same time, I kind of have to feel a little bit happy for Natsuhi, who has pretty much the crappiest life so far. Without saying anything more, Kinzo remained with his back to Natsuhi. However, Natsuhi couldn't help but feel something warm well up inside her that she hadn't felt since long ago, when she had just been a child. Natsuhi bowed silently to his back and left the room.
Ah, ちょうどいいタイミングだったわね。お父様の様子はどう？あんまり遅いから様子を見に来ちゃったのよ。
When Natsuhi left the study, she saw Ava climbing the stairs. Their eyes met. Ava was smirking unpleasantly, thinking that Natsuhi had just left the room trudgingly after failing to convince Kinzo. However, the way Natsuhi was now, such a frivolous laugh would not disturb her. She was not permitted to wear the family crest on her clothing, but she was permitted to wear it in her heart. So she spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently, with the dignity of the one who would protect the glory of the Ushiyamiya family.
お父様は親族会議にはおいでにならないそうです。汚らわしい議題に関心はないと仰せです。
とかなんとか言っちゃって。 お父様を説得できなかったんなら素直にそう言えばいいじゃない。
哀れですね。お父様が嘆かれるお気持ちも分かろうというものです。
それはどういう意味よ。
She's finally standing up to the bully. Natsuhi did not answer. Just as Kinzo had done earlier, she showed Ava her back as she headed down the stairs. Struggling to gather what had happened, Ava could only determine that she had been made fun of, and that something had happened too quickly to bolster Natsuhi's confidence. Even so, she didn't have the courage to risk Kinzo's wrath. Unable to even knock on the door, she could only scratch at the air in front of it, cluck her tongue, and follow after Natsuhi.
それで兄さんたちはいたの？
Alright. I don't know why I'm smirking like a fucking dumbass right now. That scene just made me a little bit happy. This is really, really a great calm before the storm, especially for Natsuhi's storyline. Like, at first I thought she was just the rude, okay, I'm gonna be honest here, I thought she was the rude wife to the next person up in the family line. But the more you hear of her backstory, you actually have to feel really bad for her. Like, yeah, she devoted her entire life to the family, but she wasn't even accepted by the next in line. So for the head of the family to say that she is worthy of being part of their family, that just made me smile a little bit. Like, Natsuhi put all that effort for a husband to attempt to throw it all away, for the head of the family, the one that barely likes people, to practically exclaim, I kinda like you. That's awesome, in my opinion. I actually have to feel really happy for Natsuhi. I actually am liking Natsuhi. I'm hoping that this doesn't change. I'm hoping that she stays a great character throughout the entire Umineko story, but I am really liking Natsuhi.
お父様に聞いたの？
聞きそびれましたが、書斎の中にはいませんでした。お父様が夫たちの下船な話のために入室を許すこともありえませんから、行き先を知ることもないでしょう。下に降りて使用人たちが探してくれるのを待ちましょう。朝食は遅れますが、お茶でもいかがです？エヴァさん。
別に結構よ。
Natsuhi doesn't know how to handle being owned. Eva couldn't hide her confusion over the complete difference in Natsuhi's demeanor. She was acting so boldly, and while Eva hated to admit it, she even had a sense of dignity about her. Unable to find fault with anything, she could only follow Natsuhi back to the parlor. When the two of them returned to the parlor, not only Hideyoshi, but the 4 children and Nanjo as well had gathered there. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned.
主人たちはまだ見つからないのですか？
はい、申し訳ございません。あと、熊沢が朝食の準備に入りました。
Wasn't she the one they all made jokes about?
もう少し時間をいただきたいとのことです。
The clock read a little past 8 a.m. 8 o'clock was the time that breakfast was supposed to have started. The mere fact that the host had gone over that time limit was a disgrace under normal circumstances.
今、カノンが表を探しています。それから、シャノンの姿も見えません。
シャノンまで？
6 people.
まったく、主人は何を従えて散歩に出かけたのですか？
No. Damn it, I wish it wasn't Shannon, but yeah, Shannon's also gone. Damn it. How many people couldn't be found? With the number of people having growing so... One second, I'm sorry. With the number of people having grown so large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant. As though they were the only ones being left out on something interesting. At the very least, it looks like the children, no, Maria especially felt the same way. She was indignant, her stomach grumbling, almost as though her mother and the others had left her alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. Trying to fix her bad mood, the other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria. Nanjo was sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. No doubt it was a book about chess. The sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. there was only one set. So they realized before they saw the source that it was not Kloss and the rest, but probably Cannon.
奥様、失礼します。
その様子では見つけられなかったようですね。
申し訳ございません。まだ。
もう十分です。ご苦労をかけました。
She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't put anything in their mouths since last night, so their stomachs must be growling about now. They would surely saunter in any time now. Natsuhi was already dumbfounded, and she had begun to think that there was no urgent need to find them right then.
私はお客様方にお茶のご用意をしに厨房へ行きます。二人とも早朝からご苦労様でした。
Natsuhi, acting as though the release in Teshin had caused a new surge in her headache, left the parlor. Cannon tried to call her as she left, but Natsuhi departed swiftly.
どうした？まだ何かあるのか？
はい。旦那様方のお姿を見つけることはできませんでしたが、その。
Cannon sounded evasive. He still didn't know where they were, but maybe he had found something with some relation to that. When Ava and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words, they came over. They had probably noticed the slightly strange way Cannon was acting.
どうしたんや、カノン君。クラウス兄さんたちは見つかったんか？
実はバラ庭園の倉庫の様子がおかしいのです。
様子がおかしいというのはどういう意味だ？
それが、その何と説明すればいいのか。
Cannon once again hesitated. He wasn't speaking anything like you would expect from the usually fearless Cannon. Ava and Hideyoshi exchanged quizzical looks at this display.
どういうこと？倉庫の中に兄さんたちがいたんじゃないの？
いえ、中はこれから調べます。その鍵を取りに戻ったところなのですが、その
ようわからんが、とにかく中を調べればいいだけの話じゃないか。
Oh no, they're all gonna be fucking dead in that storehouse, I bet you now.
その倉庫の鍵はどこにあるんや？
使用人室にあります。すぐに中を確かめましょう。
Cannon dashed off to the servant room and returned with the key. Genji left the parlor, saying that he would go check, but Ava and Hideyoshi also followed. What was this something odd about the storehouse that had caused the usually fearless Cannon to hesitate? It was still pouring outside, but their curiosity over this something that Cannon couldn't talk about won out. While the children made a big fuss watching television, Cannon and the rest dashed off to the entrance. Here we go. The Rose Garden Storehouse was a place that housed various tools used to manage the garden. It was definitely not a pretty building. Because of its appearance, it had been built hidden in a corner of the Rose Garden. Cannon, Genji, Ava, and Hideyoshi came running across the Rose Garden holding umbrellas. They entered a small path just off the rose garden, which was not used by those simply appreciating the garden, but only by those maintaining it. As they dashed further along it, the front of the storehouse came into view. Oh no, here we go. It was a very old shed of a storehouse, and compared to the flawlessly perfect beauty of the rose garden, it was pretty seedy looking. It was easy to understand why it had been built in a hard-to-see place. Ava and Hideyoshi arrived at the storehouse long after Ken and Genji.
カノン君たちは早いな。わしは心臓が爆発しそうや。
こんなところに倉庫なんか建ててたのね。何よそれ。
When Ava looked at where Cannon was pointing, she was at a loss for words. Noticing this, Hideyoshi also followed Cannon's finger, and was likewise too shocked to speak. The entrance to the storehouse was a kind of shutter, and there. Everyone there now understood why Cannon had been unable to find words that could describe what he saw. On the shutter, which was completely filthy from being exposed to wind and rain for so long, plastered on it, something that looked like a strange, dark red liquid? Mucus? Or maybe it was some sticky paint. Some kind of ghastly substance had been used to draw an indescribably eerie shape. The rain had caused it to drip down in several places, like fresh blood leaking from an open wound. There was no longer any point in being choosy with words. A ghastly dark red substance, meant to look like blood, had been used to draw some kind of figure or mark, intended to suggest something ominous. 2 concentric circles were drawn there, and inside them was a design that looked like a cross. The 4 ends of the cross were widely exaggerated, and it looked like some kind of crest from somewhere around Europe. And in the cracks between these shapes, written closely packed together, were some unfamiliar characters, or possibly symbols.
なんちゅう悪趣味な落書きや。これあれか。悪魔の儀式とかの魔法陣いうやつとちゃうか。
With reference to this ghastly shape, drawn with a deep red, dripping substance, Hideyoshi's comparison was not unreasonable.
これいつ書かれたの？
昨日雨が降り出す前にここに来ましたが、その時には何も書かれてませんでした。
他の方々の目に触れる前に何とかしよう。ご覧になられたらご不快になられるだろう。
I think we should see inside the shed before anything else.
そうね。ただの倉庫小屋とはいえ、こんな気持ち悪い落書きを1秒たりとも放置したくないわ。
倉庫の中に塗料があります。応急処置でとりあえず塗り消して後日天気のいい日に改めて塗装しましょう。
Genji remembered that he had just recently seen another piece of graffiti, and that it too had been made with a strange, dark red substance of the same color as this. That must have been... That's right. He had seen it on the door to Natsuhi's room.
カノン君、 さっさとこの落書きを消して戻りましょう。たとえ倉庫とはいえ、実家の落書きは本当に腹立たしいわ。
はい、すぐに済ませますので。
Ken is squatted in front of the shutter and unlocked it. He then lifted it up with all of his strength. A boisterous noise resounded, and the eerie shape drawn in the shutter began to get sucked in through the top as the shutter was raised. At least for the time being, that ominous thing disappeared from their direct gaze, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. Thanks to the... Oh, come on! I know! They're gonna open that fucking storehouse, and it's gonna be littered with the 6 bodies of the 6 missing people! I know it! Thanks to a kids program that they had come across, Maria was feeling much better. Battler and Jessica were making fun of the kids program at every turn, cackling. George was enjoying the program along with Maria. And 3 of the kids' parents are dead! Nanjo sat on the sofa by himself, passing the time by reading quietly. They heard hurried footsteps coming from the hallway. They were footsteps from a single person. Did that mean it wasn't the group of 4 that had just left? Genji was the one who had returned. It was very rare for Genji, who considered being out of breath a violation of a servant's virtues, to be gasping for air. Oh my god. He had probably come dashing back from outside the mansion. His shoulders were soaking wet, and he didn't have his usual smart appearance. When Genji noticed Nanjo looking at him, he gave a small, silent bow and quickly approached him.
Nanjo sensei, 申し訳ございません。至急お越しください。何事ですかな?
As Genji whispered something into Nanjo's ears, Nanjo's face changed color. He stood from the sofa, trying not to be noticed by the children who were still engrossed by the TV. And the 2 of them rapidly left the parlor, muffling their footsteps. Oh god! Okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I am impressed that, like, the majority of the parents are dead already. I am impressed that a lot of the parents are dead, except for, Ava, Hideyoshi, and, Natsuhi. Those are the only parents that are left. I'm impressed by, the amount of parents that got killed in this first part. Okay, if they were killed, they're most definitely killed. Come on. Sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key? 6 gone missing. They're dead! They're fucking dead! I know they're fucking dead! Wait, does that change every episode? Does the 6 who die change every episode? Or do the same 6 die in each episode? Kinda like in, okay, Higurashi spoiler warning, yada yada yada. Kinda like how Tomotage and Takano die in every chapter of Higurashi. Are the same 6 gonna die in the beginning of each episode of Umineko? Or is it gonna change each time? It's gonna be very interesting if it changes each time, but also, it might not change each time, kinda like how, Takano and Tomotage are the only 2 who die in each chapter of Higurashi. I won't go too much into the talk about fragments and stuff, but, yeah, that could be a part of, that could be a instance where it was meant to happen in each and every timeline, the 6 parents' death, but you don't know. It might not be the same 6, and it's not the 6 parents, I meant to say the same 6 people. The 2 servants and the 4 adults. Parents. I don't know. This is actually really interesting. Holy crap, this is interesting to make theories about, but you know what? I'm gonna wait until they confirm that the 6 parents are dead before I make any further, guesses as to whether or not the same 6 will die in each chapter or not. Episode, chapter, same thing. Though, before I continue on, I'm gonna give a congratulations to Nanjo, because, let's be honest here, other than, Goda, he also has the appearance and face of someone who would be the first victim. And the two of them rapidly left the parlor, muffling their footsteps. Just as they were leaving the parlor, they came across Natsuhi, who was pushing a serving cart loaded with a tea set. Genji whispered something into Natsuhi's ear, and Natsuhi's face too changed color, shocked. Then, leaving the serving cart where it was, the three of them started dashing towards the entrance. George noticed them running down the rose garden through the window.
なんだろう。源氏さんと南條先生とあれは夏日おばさんかな。
どうしたんだよ、兄貴。
何かあったのかな。
Your parents died!
ひどい慌てようだったね。
Jessica and Maria also realized that something had happened from the fact that Ava, Hiyoshi, and Nanjo were no longer in their seats. And because the serving cart had been abandoned at the entrance to the parlor.
何か事故でもあったとか？
行ってみようぜ。
Ah, no!
俺たちだけのけ者なんて面白くねえしな。
But you're gonna leave Kumasawa, the only one who is left out, though. And, well, Grandpa, but who gives a shit about Grandpa? Actually, I'm just gonna keep going. For some reason, what Parlor said sounded extremely indiscreet. But they couldn't deny that they were a little insecure and concerned after seeing the adults run off into the rain, disregarding their appearance.
行ってみようぜ。何があったか気になるぜ。
Jessica's insecure words spoke for all of them.
おい、マリア、お前も来るか。それともテレビを見てるか。
おお、マリアはテレビがいい。
Oh, good. No, it's gonna be painful when she figures out. At least she won't see it.
僕たちだけで行こう。マリアちゃん、すぐ戻るからね。テレビを見て待ってるんだよ。
By the time the kids went outside, they had lost sight of the adults, who had left earlier. But it looked like Jessica had a pretty good idea of where they had gone from the direction they had been running. Following Jessica, they ran through the rain-soaked rose garden. It felt like the wind suddenly got stronger. The malicious sound of thunder began to ring out like it had the previous night. It felt like something eerie had surrounded the island and was trying to stop them from moving forward.
ジェシカ、この先には何があるんだ。
確か園芸道具なんかの倉庫があったはずだぜ。
そんなところに一体何があるんだろうね。
Just as Jessica had said, a storehouse came into view in front of them. They could also see the adults there. The shutter to the storehouse was open, and several of the adults looked as though they were searching for something. For some reason, only Natsuhi was outside the storehouse, not even holding an umbrella. She was facing away from them, and it looked like she was hanging her head. The ones who had just left, Genji, Nanjo, Natsuhi, and the ones who had left before them, Shannon, Ava, and Hideyoshi, made this a large gathering of people, but there was absolutely no bustle of activity. When Natsuhi realized that the children had come, a terrible expression rose to her face, and she ran at them with her arms spread wide.
してはいけません。お屋敷へ戻っていなさい。
However, no, because of that, the kids saw that scene, which Natsuhi was trying to keep away from them. Oh, the kids saw the scene that Natsuhi was trying to keep them away from. Inside the storehouse, with the shutter wide open, a flickering fluorescent light shone down. And over there, Golden Slaughterer. Jessica's piercing shriek rang out. But that was just because Jessica's scream was the loudest. The same thing spilled out of Valor and George's mouths as well. Ava, just like Natsuhi, spread her arms and, with a terrible expression, roared at the kids.
Georgie! みんなを連れて屋敷に帰っていなさい。早く。今すぐに。
When Natsuhi had spread her arms, one might have thought she was trying to prevent them from advancing any further. However, right now, that wasn't why Ava was spreading her arms. She was trying to hide that terrible scene from the kids. It was her mother's heart, trying to protect the eyes and hearts of us children by attempting to block our view of that terrible scene by at least the width of one of her arms. This is a jamming ass song. This kid, why are they playing a jamming ass song to the fucking discovery of their parents' fucking deaths? I had seen this kind of cheap scene all too often. In manga, TV, anime, and movies, I had seen it over and over again. This was just seeing something appear in real life that I had seen plenty of times before in some of those more sensational movies. Wasn't it? That alone but that suit, it's that old bastard's, isn't it? I get it. Then that's Uncle Cross. And Kyrie said Auntie Rose. Ooh! Should I be jamming to the death of their parents? First Twilight.
損壊部位の状況を見る限り死後に破壊された可能性が高い。いや、めったなことは言えん。私は町医者だ。検視は専門外だ。ちゅうことは何や。殺しただけじゃ飽き足らず、さらにこんな無体なことをしたん言うんか。悪魔や、悪魔の所業や。
Aunt Natsuhi caught Jessica in her arms, and Auntie Ava caught George neatly. So, I was the only one who could approach the entrance to the storehouse. If only there had been someone here to catch me too. I wouldn't have needed to have this horrible, evil scene burnt into my eyes. No, that's not it. I'm standing here, not because the people who would catch me aren't here, but because the people who would catch me are right there. Just as Jessica has said, it did look like a storehouse used to keep gardening tools. A lawnmower and its replacement blades, a grass sickle and a hammer, a saw and some construction tools, piled up potted plants and bag of fertilizer. and treated just the same. The corpses of several people have been laid to rest there. No, have been thrown in there! I could tell them by their clothes. That old bastard and Kirie-san. Uncle Cross and Auntie Rosa. Further back, go to Shannon. There's still more of them! How many people died? Fucking hell! I can't even count them on one hand, god fucking damn it! I didn't know whether it had been one of these gardening tools, which if used for something other than their intended purpose could possibly be wielded with a naked brutality, or whether some portable tool had been brought in here specifically for this. Whatever the case, the bodies lying about here, each of them had been given an atrocious makeover. This isn't a damn makeover. This is more like their faces have been plowed. The faces were smashed, forced into an expression that a normal person couldn't make even after death. I couldn't tell where the eyes or the nose were, but I could find the mouth because it was gaping wide. The ridges of the teeth exposed! But the front teeth were missing, and even the cheek that should have covered that was all torn up and exposed. The stylish makeup that he spent way too much time fussing over for a guy is no help at all. He's still making jokes, which, that must be that's his way of coping.
あんたまでそこまでの目に遭わされる理由は何もねえじゃねえかよ。顔がねえ。顔がねえよ。くそくそくそくそ。
バトラーさん、これ以上見てはいかん。こんな姿をお父さんもお母さんもあんたに見せたいわけがない。お父さんとお母さんのためにもこれ以上見てはいかん。
死者ってのは安らかに眠る顔ってやつを拝ませてくれるんじゃねえのかよ。顔がねえんだよ。俺の親父とキリエさんの顔がねえんだよ。どういう顔して死んじまったのかそれすらもわかんねえんだよ。なんだよ俺は。親父たちのことを思い出すときはこのくちゃくちゃの化け物みてえな顔をいつも思い出さったのかよ。そいつは最高だぜ。クソ親父のニヤニヤとした顔を思い出さなくていいんだからよ。最高だぜ最高だぜ。でもよ、キリエさんの顔くらいにいいだろ。キリエさんの悪党じゃねえ。たまにはムカつくと思ったけどよ、ちょいとかっこいい俺の姉気分だったお人じゃねえかよ。こりゃねえよ。こんなのってねえよ。黒沢さんなんかまだマシじゃねえか。顔面じゃなくて側面だぜ。
Oh, okay. Okay. I misinterpreted what he was saying right there. I'm sorry.
少なくとも顔半分は残ってるじゃねえかよ。まだマシだぜまだマシだぜ。
Trying to shut out my reckless words. Jessica trying to fill her ears with the sound of her own screaming.
よすんだバタラ君。
もうよすんだ、もうよすんだ。兄貴、兄貴。
Disregarding age and appearance, I fell to my knees, clinging to Aniki's waist and sobbing. It was if I was trying. It was as if I was crying on behalf of everyone there, representing the feelings of everyone there. I screamed over and over. The music does not deserve this bumping for this scene. The music is too bumping for that scene. Holy fuck.
お父さん、倒れているのはクラウスおじさん、ルドルフおじさん、キリエおばさんにローザおばさん、ゴーダさんで5人。
いや、6人や。ここにもう一人おる。
The body that Hideyoshi was now looking down on was hidden in the shadow of a mountain of random objects, in a blind spot to George, who stood by the entrance. So George couldn't tell whose body it was. Therefore, George cursed himself. He cursed that part of himself that imagines is worse, and is always right.
じゃあ、お父さんの足元に倒れているのはシャノンなんだね。
Man, this is one of the few things I wish I hadn't expected. I wish I hadn't expected this. And you know what? I fucking wish that even if I hadn't expected this fucking to happen, you know what I would have also would have wanted? My expectations to be totally ruined. God damn it, I knew fucking Shannon would be... I knew Shannon would be killed, but this is one of the times where I wish my predictions were fucking wrong. God damn it. Well, at least she will return for episode 2. God damn it, I should not be saying that joke.
Oh. シャノンちゃんや。
World N. BP. George was completely silent. He shook slightly, his lower lip trembling. He wanted to run up to his beloved, screaming and crying. But before rashly running up to her, he mustered up all of his strength and asked his father.
シャノンもクラウスおじさんたちと同じなのかな。
Hideyoshi deeply understood the meaning of those words, so he couldn't give George a quick answer. No, he thought that, to George right now, that was only possible sincere and loving response. When George had asked whether she was the same, he had meant to ask whether her course was the same as the others. Since Hideyoshi hadn't denied it, it meant that the body was just as horrible.
シャノンを見てもいいかな。
いや、あかん。
どうして？だってもう二度とシャノンの顔を見られないんだよ。その最後の顔、どうして見たらいけないんだよ。
お前が最後にシャノンちゃんに会ったのは昨日か。 そうか。そのシャノンちゃんは別れ際にお前にどんな顔を見せたんや。素敵な笑顔だったよ。
After receiving the ring, she was bewildered, even though her heart should have been decided. Bashful, and so embarrassed. Show him that face. I'm sorry, hold on. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, God, okay. Let me try that again. After receiving the ring, she was bewildered, even though her heart should have been decided. Bashful, and so embarrassed to show him that face that she ran away. That expression was revived in Joy's mind.
そうか。ならシャノンちゃんもその笑顔をお前に残したいと願うはずや。
Hideyoshi looked down upon Shannon's body, lying at his feet. God damn it! It's gonna say something about her hand, and there was It's gonna say something about her left hand. I just know it. Hideyoshi looked down upon Shannon's body, lying at his feet. Just like the other bodies, it was in such a horrible state that it would make anyone want to cover their eyes. Half of the face had been smashed off, and no more than half of her expression remained. If that remaining half, soaked red with blood, had been wiped clean, that graceful smiling face might have peeked out. Only half of it. Without thinking, Hideyoshi slapped his hand over his eyes. How cruel. If only all of it had been crushed, if they were going to crush it, then he might have been able to deceive George's heart for a while by saying that it was just someone else wearing Shannon's clothes. Yet, they have left half of the face. It caused the body so much humiliation, and also made it clear that this body was none other than Shannon. How inhuman. How monstrous. There, at Hideyoshi's feet, trying his best to burn the image of the remaining half of Shannon's expression into his eyes, was Cannon. Cannon was not crying. Tears had risen to his eyes, but they did not drip down. But that didn't mean that he wasn't feeling as much sadness as everyone else. Losing Shannon, who had lived with him in the Gospel House, whom he had loved as a sister, must have been just the same as losing a blood relative.
Joji, シャノンちゃんはきっとありがとう言ってるぞ。お前に恥ずかしいところを見られとうなかったんや。きっとお前が耐えてくれたこと感謝しとるで。
Okay, I'm sorry. Fuck, I'm actually getting... this is the second time I'm getting emotional in this episode, but God, this is just really painful.
分かってる。
分かってるよ父さん。分かってるよ。
I'm already crying at episode 1 of this game. I don't think that the next 70 is going to be that fun. George leaned against the outside wall of the storehouse, sinking down powerlessly.
父さん、頼みがあるんだ。
なんや。
僕の代わりに見てほしいんだ。シャノンは指に指輪をつけてるかな。
指輪？ちょいと見てみる。
Hideyoshi crouched down. As he did, Cannon suddenly pointed to one of Shannon's Fuck! 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 Hideyoshi crouched down. As he did, Cannon silently pointed to one of Shannon's hands.
ああ、あるで。これはダイヤの指輪や。クズダイヤとちゃう。なかなかの値打ちもんや。
それはどっちの手のどの指にあるのかな。
と、左手の薬指や。そっか、シャノンちゃん、婚約しとったんか。
ジョージ、あなた、まさか。
エヴァ、今はそんなん関係ないで。シャノンちゃんは男に将来を約束されとったんや。一生を幸せにしちゃると男に言わせたんや。それが誰かは問題とちゃうで。男にそこまで言わしめて女の本懐やないか。いつこの指輪をもらったんかは知らん。誰が渡したかも知らん。だがそれでもシャノンちゃんは指輪をもらえたんや。
Hideyoshi knows. Hideyoshi knows.
そしてそれを受け入れ左の薬指に通したんや。
He knows George gave it to her.
指輪を送った男もきっと喜んだんとちゃうか。
To most of the people there, Hideyoshi was simply disturbed by this extraordinary situation and was blurting out strange things. But to those who really knew the truth about George and Shannon's relationship, everything he said made sense.
そっか。ありがとう、父さん。
George stood up. The traces of tears still streaked his face, but his expression had returned to its usual calm.
行こう。バトラー君、ジェシカちゃん。これ以上僕たちがここにいると大人の邪魔になる。
そうだな。
Jessica sniffled once, and trying to say that she was alright, she showed her face to her mother, who had been holding her the whole time. Oh fuck, I just thought about... Oh! They're gonna have to tell Maria. They're gonna have to tell Maria soon. When she faced George again, she once again had on her usual face. although she still couldn't recover her smile.
パトラー、しっかり。
Battler kept on crouching in front of his parents' bodies.
すまねえな。がっつり泣いたら落ち着いたぜ。親父の野郎、普段はクソクソ言ってるくせに。ちょっと死んじまったくらいでピーピー泣くんじゃねえぜって笑ってやがれ。仕方ねえだろ。親が死んだら泣くように遺伝子すり込まれちまってったからよ。
Battler's face was still bright red from the tears, but even though it was forced, he had at least recovered enough to fake a smile.
カノン、お前もこれ以上ここにいてはいけません。子供たちを連れてお屋敷に戻っていなさい。
Natsuhi, unable to take a step into the storehouse, had been standing under the rain the whole time. Maybe she had her own way of grieving, different from Battler's. She realized that she had to take on a sense of responsibility now that her husband was dead. So she gave Cannon those orders.
はい、奥様。
Cannon rose silently and turned to face them. His face was pure white, almost as though his own heart had died along with Shannon. There was no life in his expression. If, during the course of a normal day, he had been instructed to do a tour of the beautiful rose garden, Cannon may have led the way for them. But now, there was no distinction between Cannon and the children. They were now just kids of about the same age, with the wounds of having lost someone close to them. After seeing the children go back, Natsuhi gave orders to Genji.
Genji, すぐに警察に連絡しなさい。台風が通り過ぎるまでは来られないでしょうが、どうすればいいか指示を与えてくれるはずです。
わかりました。防災用の無線機がありますので、それで連絡します。
When she heard that, Natsuhi remembered. That's right. The telephones were out today, weren't they? However, since it had been assumed that there could be trouble with the phones on this isolated island, a radio had been installed. Anyway, let's contact the police and seek their instructions. Everything else can wait.
Nanjo 先生、もうこの場はどうしようもありませんか。
残念ながら私には何もできませんな。
わかりました。源氏、せめて主人たちの顔を何かで覆ってやることはできませんか。このような姿を晒すことは当人にとっても屈辱的でしょうから。
はい。
Genji picked up several towels hanging inside the storehouse. When Ava stopped him in a shrill voice.
ちょっとお待ちなさいよ。ここは犯行現場なんでしょ。 なら変に手を加えちゃダメよ。私たちは混乱してて現場に土足で踏み入っちゃったけど、それはきっと警察の捜査の邪魔になったわよ。
Natsuhi glared at Ava testily. Objectively speaking, Ava was right. Even so, she glared at Ava as though accusing her of refusing to do those tragic corpses. Which, oh, okay. that was a weird place to pause, and I was confused there for a second. Which had been humiliated even after death. The simple kindness of covering their faces. However, Ava had spoken both calmly and correctly. This horrible state was definitely not an accident. It was a crime. Someone had killed them. It was a murder case. In that case, they should be careful not to further disturb the scene. They had to aid the police as much as possible, so that they might hand over a clue that could be used to find the detestable culprit.
私もエヴァさんに賛成ですな。警察が来るまでここは手つかずにしておくべきです。
奥様、いかがなさいますか。
そうですね。わかりました。ここを閉ざしなさい。それから念のためここに別の施錠をするように。
別の施錠？
ええ。ここに来た時シャッターの鍵は閉じていました。ということはシャッターの鍵を使い犯人が施錠したということです。
確かに通りや。
Stupefaction.
じゃあここを開けた限り犯人の指紋が残ってるんとちゃうんか。
警察に証拠として提出する価値はあるでしょうけど、カノン君が普通に持ってここを開けるのに使用しちゃったわ。多分カノン君の指紋も付着しちゃってるわよ。そしてその鍵はさっき源氏さんに手渡され、源氏さんも素手で受け取ってる。大した証拠にはなりそうにないわね。
それは不用心でした。申し訳ございません。
源氏さん、この倉庫の鍵は他にもあるんか？
いいえ、この一つだけです。
ということは犯人はその鍵を使用人室から持ち出し、そして律儀に元の場所に戻したちゅうことになるな。
Hideyoshi's theory sounded plausible, but was actually very strange if you thought about it. Why would they go to all the trouble of returning a key they stole? No, if you think about it more deeply, there are some even more bizarre points. Usually, when a criminal hides a body, they are trying to delay the point at which it would be found and use that time to escape. The actual place where the six were killed wasn't necessarily here, but they had been killed somewhere on this island. And it would be normal to think that the reason they had been carried to the storehouse was to hide the bodies and delay the discovery of the crime. But that graffiti drawn on the shutter, that looked like an eerie magic circle, had eloquently indicated that the corpses were hidden here. It didn't specifically say that they were here, but after 6 people had gone missing, by making such an obvious scribble and even returning the key to open it, it seemed almost as though someone had wanted the corpses to be discovered here.
Toにかく一度は犯人が開け閉めをした施錠だけでは信用できません。犯人の手からもこの場所を保護する意味で施錠を新たにしたいと言っているのです。
いい案だと思います。私も賛成です。
Genji fished around inside the storehouse and unsealed a brand new padlock, which had been inside a small box.
鍵はどうなさいますか?
Okay, hold up. Before I continue on, I'm gonna go ahead and make 3 people. I'm gonna say 3 people that seem to be the most suspicious right now to me, and who may be responsible for what's going on in the storehouse. Though they may not have done the killings themselves, I have 3 suspicions for 3 people that may have been involved. Obviously, Nanjo could be involved. He's the closest to Kinzo, and it could be due to Kinzo. Okay, my third theory is this is a human culprit. This is a human culprit. I full on believe there's a human culprit responsible for what's going on, and I believe they're either one who closely wants to follow Kinzo's, superstitions, yes. Someone who quickly follows to Kinzo's superstitions and wants to go by them. For which, the 2 people that would know Kinzo the most and his superstitions would have to be Genji. Well, I already revealed the second person I'm suspecting, Genji and Nanjo. Those are the 2 people I am heavily suspecting the most since they're the closest to Kinzo, and 6 people are dead, just like the epitaph. It definitely would seem as if Kinzo is like at the last edge of his life. And for the last edge of his life, he wants to leave his family with one final test to the Uchiha family's name, because he doesn't trust any of his relatives at all. He doesn't trust any of his relatives at all. Like, he doesn't want any of them to get the inheritance, so he's doing one big final test to see who may deserve his inheritance. And the 2 people of the 3 that I'm suspecting so far to being involved with the possible murder of these 6, Nanjo and Genji. I have a feeling that one or maybe both of them might be involved due to them following Kinzo's superstitions, or Kinzo himself is ordering them to do so, and they're following him with a possible chance of them getting a little bit of that inheritance. Though, for Genji, it seems a little weird that he will be going along with this plan, but it would make sense though. I full on believe that Umineko, what's going on here, is the work of humans. I am on the side of, this is the work of humans. That's my full on belief, even though it might be hard for humans to do what they're doing. We may be getting an unreliable narration as to what's going on as well. Oh no, why is it this is a sort of game where the culprit changes each time as well? No, okay, I'm not going with the theory that the culprit changes each time, because that would be too confusing.
私が持ちましょう。責任を持って警察に手渡します。
Natsuhi took the key to the padlock from Genji's hand. After that, they all exited and lowered the shutter. Because of that, the corpses were once again sealed behind that shutter, covered with that gruesome magic circle. Genji crouched down in front of the shutter to fasten the new padlock. In addition to the main lock on the shutter, there is sometimes a place where you can attach your own lock in front of it. Actually, before I go on, I feel like that charm that Jessica gave her mother kind of saved her life. If her mother's not one of the culprits, that charm that she used probably saved her mother's life, because her door handle was bloodied up. Her door handle was bloodied up. That could have saved her life if we're going for a supernatural approach. Though it could also be, when Shannon was killed in the hallway, she might have grabbed the door handle trying to get attention of someone trying to get someone to help her. But she didn't wake up Natsuhi, leading to her demise. So, if we go from a supernatural standpoint, that charm saved Natsuhi. Or if we're going from the realistic standpoint, for which I'm going to side more with that, it was Shannon trying to get help from Natsuhi, but Natsuhi was too fast asleep. Even though she's a light sleeper, her medication probably took her out. In addition to the main lock on the shutter, there is sometimes a place where you can attach your own lock in front of it. This was one of those times. In the midst of the roar of thunder and the pouring rain, the storehouse stood there, ominously. On its closed shutter was the magic circle, drawn in a creepy blood-like substance, and swallowing up the bodies of 6 whole people. To Natsuhi, putting the new lock on may have not been entirely to preserve the scene for the police, but rather, she might have felt like she wanted to shut that mouth for all eternity, to prevent any more victims from being swallowed by that eerie demon.
さあ、行きましょう、皆さん。南條先生、ご足労をありがとうございました。源氏は急いで警察に連絡を。
戻りましたらすぐに連絡します。
The adults left the storehouse. The ghastly magic circle drawn on the shutter, still swallowing the 6 bodies, loomed eerily, occasionally lit up by the lightning. Glass break. There's gonna be a glass break. Do it! Umineko no Nakukori ni. 9 o'clock. Or 8:45. Yeah, 8:45. I'm gonna save this for next time. Oh fuck, this is not gonna be a good scene. Them having to tell Maria what happened. Also, was there something added to the Grimoire? No, nothing was added to the Grimoire. Why did I hear the drop sound effect? Oh no, wait. Oh my god! Oh, come on! Okay, I had a slight suspicion that the character pages have been, altered, but come on! Wait, is Shannon's face covered? Of course! Oh my god! Is this how their faces were discovered? This is how their faces were discovered. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh god. Okay. Well, it's time to read the updates to the, character sheets. Ushiramiya Kloss. Corpse found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. The direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems the side of his head was smashed after his death. We start where it all begins. Ushiramiya Rudolph. Corpse found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. His face seems to have been smashed after his death. He has the right to limit his ill fortune. Why is there one-liners after there's deaths? Why is there one-liners? Corpse found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. Her face seems to have been smashed after her death. She was chosen by the Demon's Roulette. That's all there is to it. Ushiramiya Kirie. Ushiramiya Rosa. Corpse found the Rose Garden storehouse. Her face seems to have been smashed after her death. I'll be seeing her again, so I'm not lonely. See, this is going to be like Higurashi. Each part, the characters are going to be alive again for the same event. Well, similar events to happen again. I don't know if the exact same will happen, but similar events will happen each time. Shannon. Corpse found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. It seems the side of her head was smashed after her death. Don't worry. Everyone will be revived in the Golden Land. Well, at least they're trying to give resurge to everyone after they, cried their heads off. God. The scene with George, I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming as soon as Shannon was found dead, but that hit me. That hit me real good. Goda Toshiro. Corpse found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. His face seems to have been smashed after his death. How unfortunate. Apparently, he was actually supposed to be on duty in the guest house. Wow, Klaus. Goda would have survived if you didn't change their schedule. I should not be making jokes. I should not be making jokes about their deaths. But anyways, everyone, let's read the epitaph and the letter before we end off this episode. Behold the Sweetfish River, running through my beloved home of old. You who seek the Golden Land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. As you travel down it, you will see a village. In that village, look for the shore the two speak of. There, the key to the Golden Land sleeps. You who laid hand upon the key must journey as follows to the Golden Land. On the first twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key. On the second twilight, those who remain shall kill the 2 who are close. Oh no, damn it! On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. Fuck, okay. I got the rest of them. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the fifth twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the sixth twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the seventh twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the eighth twilight, gouge the leg and kill. On the ninth twilight, the witch revives, and none shall be left alive. On the 10th twilight, the journey ends, and you shall reach the home of the gold. The witch shall praise the wise, bestow 4 treasures. 1 shall be all the Golden Land's gold. 1 who resurrects all the dead people's souls. 1 even revives all the love they possessed. And 1 for the rich to eternally rest. Rest in peace, my beloved witch, Beatrice. I think I got the last 3 correct. I think I got all the last 3 lines correct, like I said at the beginning of the video. I could almost get the last 3 lines perfectly. It's just at the beginning I need more practice with. And now it's time to study the letter from the witch. Welcome to Rokenjima, ladies and gentlemen of the Uchiha family. I am Beatrice, the alchemist for this family, under the employ of Kinzo-sama. I have served him for many years in accordance with our contract, but today, Kinzo-sama has announced the termination of that contract. Therefore, I ask that you acknowledge my resignation from the position of family alchemist as of today. And now, there is one part of the contract that I must explain to you all. I, Beatrice, lent Kinzo-sama a vast quantity of gold under certain terms. One of these terms specifies that all of the gold is to be returned to me upon the termination of the contract. Furthermore, I am to receive everything of the Uchiha family as interest. After hearing this, you may feel as though Kinzo-sama has been savagely ruthless. However, Kinzo-sama did append a special clause to the contract so that you would have a chance to preserve your wealth and honor, if and only if that special clause is fulfilled. I will lose my rights to the gold and the interest for all eternity. Special clause. Beatrice has the right to collect the gold and accumulate interest upon the termination of the contract. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden gold of this contract, Beatrice must abandon these rights for all time. The collection of the interest will proceed shortly, but if any one of you fulfills the terms of this special clause, I shall return everything, including the portion that has already been collected. Furthermore, as the first step in this collection of Kinzo-sama's death, I have taken possession of the Uchiha family head's ring, which signifies the passage of the Uchiha family headship from one individual to another. I ask that you confirm this for yourselves by examining the imprint on the wax seal. Kinzo-sama has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything. Tonight, I ask that you enjoy your battle of wits with Kinzo-sama to the fullest. I sincerely pray that this night will be both intellectual and elegant. Beatrice the Golden. And with that, ends this. Oh my god. The 13th part. The 13th part! I made sure. No, I didn't make sure. I accidentally made the 13th part of my Let's Read of Umineko When They Cry be the one where 6 people fucking die. Oh my god. I did this by mistake, by the way. I did not mean for making this episode where 16 people die. Because, well, that was not intended. This was not meant to be the 13th episode on purpose, actually. The episode where 6 people died. That was not on purpose. That was actually, like, coincidence. And I just realized that coincidence. And holy crap. This video is going to be pretty long.
Okay.